All right, now let's talk about some of the tools that we use, some open source stuff and some commercial stuff. No one tool does everything in computer forensics. One tool ever will. I know a lot of companies are working towards it, but you got to understand, you got to use a little bit of everything. So you got to have a big toolbox. Let's talk about those toolboxes. What are some of the issues? Well, we got to look at the security. Is the program doing what it's supposed to do? Is it sending up data? Is it doing this? Does it blow up our systems? Is there support for it? You know, listen, free is nice, but you got to understand there's some things we got to look at. Here's some common open source utilities. There's a huge long list here. Analyze MFT, Autopsy, PTK, the Coroner's Toolkit, and the Sleuth Kit. All great tools. Um, Not as robust sometimes as some of the commercial tools, but hey, the price is right. Take a look at these. There's files, websites here you can go to. You can download these things and you can start using them right now. So get familiar with them and understand how they work. We talked about how they dig through all these file attributes. We talked about how they go, and we'll talk about how they do file carving. And that's what all these things are doing, the basic same thing. It's just how they do it and how they look when they do it. There's more. Take a look at this website. Commercial tools, wow. Tons. Again, the big boys on the block. Encase, FTK, iLook. Nuix is kind of new, but they're on there. Paladin. PTK, they got some stuff there, but they're not used that much in law enforcement. So, and X-Ways. X-Ways is coming on with a lot more stuff that is actually looking pretty cool. Again, a lot of these guys will have trials that you can use. You can download some trial copies. Get familiar with it. Go out there, take a look at it. They also have a ton of information on their websites. So let's take a look at FTK and what FTK can do for us. I've gone ahead and logged into my FTK program here, and as you can see, I'm running FTK 5.3. In the overview, we talked about some of the things that can happen here, such as managing your carvers, your custom identifiers, columns, KFF, all of that stuff here. One of the most important ones here is the carvers. What you'll see here is I've added a ton of custom carvers that you can download from the FTK website itself. So to bring these in, you just you click on import, you bring it to where it's at. Of course, it's always going to go to Systems 32, and I got mine up here in my documents library under software, custom carvers. You see we got Linux, Mac, other carvers, phone carvers, window carvers, just a ton of these things. You open up each of those folders and there's a ton of carvers. So once you bring those all in, you can even make a new one if you want here, and you can go ahead and define the carver according to what the parameters that you're looking on. So you go ahead and save that if you want, but once you have those in there, those are always available to you when you do your refinements. So you can go ahead and you can hit close. Now when you do a new case, you go ahead and hit case, new, and we'll call this one test 2. So you can put a description in there. Remember, the descriptions you use will be in the FTK report, so be careful with that. Now we talked about how to set up FTK, and I got my cases going to a separate drive, and I just need to point it at my my database drive to the PG Data 9-1 because it's using Postgres. Once we get that going, I don't mess around with custom profiles. You can, I don't. I just typically hit standard and hit OK. So it takes a couple of seconds for it to do its thing. FTK comes back up. It says, hey, I got a new case, but we don't have anything in the case. And you're going to get this window. This is where you add evidence to FTK. Simple enough, add button, right? There you go. Most of the time you can be working with an acquired image, but you can just about batch process if you want. You can say all images in a directory, contents of a directory, just an individual file. You can process a physical drive, but I will warn you that processing a physical drive isn't exactly the most forensically sound thing, even if you write block it, because as you're processing, that drive is going to get warm and it could go. So a logical drive also. Typically we work off an acquired image. I tell FTK, hey, where do I want to go find that image? I go to my evidence drive. I've got a couple of things in here that we can work on. There's an image. We hit open. Now here's where we have a couple of things that we can do. Number one, your time zone is very, very important. I always set mine Phoenix here, but here's the thing. When I'm working task force cases, I may get task force cases from anywhere in the country. So sometimes it might be New York. You can set your timeline accordingly, because if you don't, as FTK is processing it, the time and date stamps of your files will be wrong. So this one here, we're going to go ahead and set it at America for Phoenix. Refinement options. Okay, here's a few things that we have, a few choices. Expand compound files. What are compound files? Microsoft Office documents are compound files. Those are the kind of things that we want to expand. Always, always, always expand. We've got MD5, SHA-1, and SHA-256. This is the no-one file filter. I typically do not do that because I've done this enough times. I know what is a no-one Windows file, and it takes a lot of extra time. You can import photo-DNA. If you do that, it's going to ask you for the photo-DNA library. You can flag bad file extensions. Highly, highly recommended. You can run an entropy test at the time you bring it in. You can create thumbnails. DT search text index, very important. Do not turn that off because that's going to be the power of FTK, and I will show you that later on here. Create thumbnails for videos, you bet. So I want to create thumbnails, 5%, we're good to go. Create a common video file, you bet. HTML file listings, do you want to push one of those out? Sure. Data carve, great. Remember those custom carvers I was talking about? There they are, every one of them. Select them all, hit OK. If you want to bring in more carvers and you haven't gotten them in the front, there they are again. You can bring in more. So now we've got data carving. We always want to meta carve. Optical character recognition, OCR. Good idea if you're looking for documents such as PDFs and stuff like that, because what it'll do is, and it just goes crazy, and it tells you it's going to convert text font and graphics files as searchable text. So you still have to go through and verify it, but it's nice to have. If you have the explicit image detection, it goes out and it looks for porn. Not like you're going to find porn on somebody's computer. That's all we find on computers. But it's there. Register reports. Working on a Mac, who cares? But on a Windows machine, get it going. By doing this all at the beginning of the file, it's all done for you. So when it's done processing, voila, it's ready to roll. So you can do have it send you an email when it's done. Cerebus analysis, if you have the Cerebus on your license, it'll go through and it'll check it for viruses and malware and such and all that. And you can process the internet browser history for some visualization, all that. Automatic decryption, everything good to go. All right, you hit OK. Hit OK. You get this window saying, hey, I'm going to process all of this stuff. Now, this is where you don't want to be screwing around. While it's processing, FTK gets to be a little bit touchy. So you want to leave it alone. Don't be opening up other files. Don't be opening up other things because it's going to definitely eat up a lot of resources. Remember, I've carved upwards of 2 terabytes, upwards to 9 terabytes in a case on a run. So that's going to use a lot of CPU, a ton of RAM. I'm running 32 gigabytes of RAM, and I have maxed that bad boy out. So if I start goofing around, editing videos, playing on pictures, even just playing on the internet, it's going to A, slow things down, B, going to mess up FTK. I could get some bad responses. So leave it alone. Obviously, this is a very small test image, so guess what? We're done. When you see this, that it's processed, everything's indexed, which means I can go ahead and I can search through everything. Go ahead and close. So we look at this, we end up in the Explore tab. We have our evidence, we have our image. There's our first partition. It is a FAT16. Small partition, not much on it. Okay, if we click on this, here's what's underneath there. We've got a FAT1, FAT2, reserved section, VBR. They look like they're zips, you bet. Unallocated space, we've also processed unallocated space. That was all part of it. It's all in there. If we want to see what's inside of that, we hit this, the little arrow, the green arrow, and look, we carved a JPEG, a couple other JPEGs out of there, and away we go. So now we can go over here to the, you can search through all of your Hive right here, all of your file structures, left and right till you're blue in the face, and you can pick up and look at anything just like it was in a Windows Explorer. The Overview tab, this is really where I do a lot of my work, because if I'm looking for certain things, I can go in here to the file category and look what I've got. I've got archives, databases, documents, of course there are none, folders, graphics, raster graphics. It'll pick up all of the different kind of graphics files you can think of. All the way through here, mobile phone data. This is where you can definitely narrow down your search to give you a better time frame to get things done. So I would highly recommend, if you know that, say you're working a fraud case and this guy is using PDFs, go here, go to your documents. If there is a PDF there, it will pick up the PDFs and it will give you where all they all are. Poof, you're done. Next episode. If you're looking for your system files, your SAM, your registry files, OS file systems, that's where they're going to be. Spreadsheets, it even tells you, I got some here, I don't even know what they are. Metadata off of these fats. Is metadata important? Metadata is always important. You can look at things in a hexadecimal level. You can look at them in text level, all of that. You can even go down here and look at my file status. Card files, there they are. What are these? Not sure. That's a big file, a PDB. I don't even know what that is right now. I'll have to do some work on that. But like this JPEG, look, it's a cat. When we're in our training, this is one of the little jokes that they like to pull on us. They tell us, oh, it's a kitty porn. But you get the purpose. So we can go through here. It'll tell you what's been decrypted, what's not. Even has email status down here. So you can really break down all of your different files that you're going through and focus your investigation and your examination in these areas. The email tab. This is great when you're working email. Obviously, this is a small image. It's not there. But you can go in here and you can look for email addresses, senders, email by date, archives, email status, and it'll help you break down the email and the communications that you're done. I processed a case with 98,000 emails I had to go through. You think I use this? You bet. I can go in here and I can sort by sender. And I can focus on just who the communicating with the bad guy. That's what I want to do. I don't want to waste a lot of time. I can break down what I need to break down. I don't have to go through and manually sort and file stuff. That's perfect. Graphics. You got to understand these programs like FTK, NCASE, and a lot of these are made for finding child pornography. That is the bottom line. So you have to understand that the graphics tab is a huge part of that. It's real simple. It makes it great. You click on the little green arrow. There's all the graphics that are on that drive. Now, obviously, we only put one on here because we're not going to put about 10 million on there, but every graphical file that is on that drive will show up, and you can page through them right here. Now, here's where it's really important to understand about filters. This is the filter tab right here. Now, down here, you can go ahead and filter by what's already in here, which is, bookmarked, compound, actual files, all that. Just deleted? Sure, I can filter to just deleted files. This works on every tab. And think about it here, explicit images folder, medium score or high score, I'm looking for porn, right? I'm looking for child pornography. Those things are going to be advantageous to me to help focus my investigation. So I can go through here and I can go and pick out any of these to filter by, web artifacts, everything. You can also create filters right here in the filter manager. You can add filters. You can define new filters, create a new filter. You can import a new filter from an XML file. So, you can add and make it and personalize it, for lack of a better term, to what you need to do. So here's how FTK works. Say we find child pornography, kitty porn, right? File pops up there. It pops up down here. I say, yep, that's what I'm looking for. I select it. I right-click on it, and I say, create bookmark. Now, I need to name the bookmark, and I'm going to name them notable images. Could be notable emails, could be notable files, could be notable fraud. You can name it anything you want. I add a content to it. Images depicting kitty porn. And just to keep the joke running. Now, here's where you go. You have all highlighted, all checked. So if I have 20 of them checked, I go to all checked. I can do all listed. Here's what's cool about this file comment, and you'll see this when we go up to the report process. It will add whatever I have in a file comment to the FTK report. So I say image of black, if I could type, I'd be dangerous, and white kitty. Okay? I tell it to put it in my bookmark folders. I can attach files, whatever I want to do, and I hit OK. Now watch this. As I click off of this one here should become pink. See? Pink. That means it's been bookmarked. Same process here for video. And let me get this off here so I don't have all that. Not like there's a lot of there that's going to clog it up. Same process for video. There's no video files here, but if there were, they would populate here, and you could play them down here. If they don't play within FTK, you can click on Open Without Exterior Program. It puts out and goes. Internet chat. This is where you're going to find all of your internet programs. Now, they get pretty difficult because you don't know, where they came from. It's hard to piece them back together. Sometimes there's a little bit there, but this is where you're going to find those. Remember when we bookmarked? Here's our bookmarks. Notable images. Remember I said images depicting kitty porn? Selections. See? Comment, image of black and white kitty. I can add all different things. I can add a file of this. I can do all of that in here. So the more I put in these sections here, the more ends up in my report. Now here's one of the cool parts about FTK. When we brought everything in, we did the DT search index. So now I can go ahead and I can add live search and index search. By doing the DT search, we have an index search. So I can search for something like police. Okay, well, there's no police, but there's placed. There's 36 images times that was placed pops up. This is automatic. It's perfectly, it's quick, it's easy. Well, how about Photoshop? Yeah, Photoshop would be a good one because we're looking for pornography terms. So I can delete this, clear it. I look for Photoshop. I know it's been hit twice. I hit search now. Include all files. Again, I can filter it any way I want, but I'm going to do all files. Hit OK. Voila, instantaneous searched. Where was it? It was an unallocated space that found Photoshop, written by Adobe Photoshop. Why do you think we would come across something that would say written by Adobe Photoshop? Because the picture was opened by Adobe Photoshop. Now I'll tell you right now, you look at this right here, and when in forensics, right there, that is a JPEG file header, right there. So I know that we got some carving to do. And I know that Photoshop's been used on the images that were here. So I can now testify, hey, not only did the bad guy possess these images, they were open in Photoshop and they were probably altered. That's the beauty of index search. It gives you these instantaneous results right here. Live search, on the other hand, is the old slow method of going through things. What we like to use live search for is for patterns. I mean, you can type in text, but text is already normally handled by the D-index search. But patterns is where live search becomes in handy. We pop this open and look at this. We've got MAC addresses all the way down to credit card information in here. Problem with this is it's a live search. If you're running across 2 terabytes of data, you're going to be doing it for a while. So try to limit it, but hey, if you're working a fraud case and you're looking for credit cards, you've got no choice. But if you have known credit card numbers you're looking for, they will be in the index search. That has saved me many, many, many times when I'm looking for known credit card numbers. We also have the volatile here. One of the biggest things we have going on in computer forensics right now is the capture of volatile memory. With 32 gigabytes in RAM, do you think I have much on my scratch disk, on my virtual hard drives? No, there's nothing there. It's all in RAM. And that's going to be the wave of the future. So this is where FTK will go ahead and process volatile memory when you bring it in. How would you bring in more evidence? Evidence, additional analysis. Add, remove data. You can bring in remote address. Here, remember this, it brings us back to how we bring in more evidence. We want to do some more processing. I want to do some more carving. I can do more hashing, photo DNA, whatever I want to do, indexing tools. I can do more carving. Expound compound files, create thumbnails. Look familiar? It's all the stuff we did before. File signature analysis, all that, data carve. Okay, now we can go clear all. I just want to look for JPEGs on this one. Let's see what happens. We hit OK. Well, notice this is our first job. Here's additional analysis job. It says I'm queued, I'm pending. In about 2 seconds, it's going to go to pre-processing, and it'll start processing again. So if I need to do more analysis, because I know there's something out there that had Photoshop that it didn't catch right away, I can go back and I can carve again, and I can see if I can find it. Look at this. It processed 39 files. We're into the database optimization. It's going to be quick because this is a small one, and we'll see if we picked up any further files. It's done. Gives you post-processing. Everything's ready to go. Job finished. We hit close. Let's go back to graphics. We hit this. We only still have the one. So it didn't carve anything else. That's all that's on there. So we're looking here at a carved MPEG maybe. And these PDBs. Not exactly sure what those are, but I'd have to play with it a little bit. So now we say we're all done with our examination. FTK will make the report for you. But first, let's take a look at some of these. View, your standard stuff, bookmark tree. You can go through different views. We talked about the evidence category. Import memory dump. That's where you would import a volatile memory dump. You can bring in custom data, whatever you want to do. Here's your filters. You can, new import import a new ones. All your tools here, verify image integrity, restore image to disk. You can take that and you can take an image that you've made and restore it to a regular disk itself. This is where that all comes in. Recover processing jobs, push agents, whatever you need to do here. Managing all that stuff, it's like we talked about in the overview, and of course your help files. One of the things that we want to make sure we do before we do our report is we're done. So we want to make sure that the image's integrity is still good. Open that up, hit calculate, it's going to work its magic. We're talking a 1 gigabyte image, it's going to take 2 seconds. There it is, everything's done. Close, image verification is complete. We hit done. Now we can go ahead and kick out our report. So FTK brings up its report generator. All these things can be in your report. If you've done a screen capture or registry selections, you can. So you type in your name here. I'm just going to type in some different values, whatever. Address, phone number, whatever you want. You go to your bookmarks. Well, you bookmarked evidence, so I want to make sure that I have my notable images in there. Click on notable images. Do I want to include email attachments? Yes. Export files and include links? Of course. And create a thumbnail file. Now you can do a Cerebus on a HTML, but if it's not there, you don't have to. Now here's something that you need to understand. If you have here at this upper level of bookmarks, and I do it like this, and I've clicked everything I want, and I say apply these settings to children, this notable images is the child of obviously my name. So it applies it to that. So anything that's clicked on this one applies to that one, and the same thing. Now I will warn you about graphics. If you keep this checked, it will export all the graphics, all the videos, all the file paths, all the file properties. Registry selections, there's none here, but if you're working a Windows machine, you want to click this and have the registry reports going out there, and we haven't done any screen capture, so we don't have to do that. Once it's all said and done, we hit OK. We tell it we want to put it, I'm just going to put it on the desktop for now, and I'm going to make an HTML report. I'm not going to put it there because I don't know what's going to try to make me get rid of. So we're going to put it onto my computer. I'll go to the evidence drive and just put it there. Hit OK. FTK is going to do its thing. Like I said, it's a big program. It can be a little unwieldy. If you don't have a good system running, it can be problematic for you. So, but it's going to go ahead and it's going to create a report. Now I do already have some FTK reports out there that I can show you. Let me open some of these off screen here. Stand by. Okay, we're back. I got an FTK report. Let me bring this into the screen here. This is what an FTK report is going to look like when you're done. You're going to have your case information, which is going to be all the stuff that we typed in. There's my name. Everything else we did, my address, all my phone numbers. So if you want to call and harass me, you can go at it. Here's a complete file listing. In this case here, we had ungrouped files, archives, databases. Remember all those breakdowns we were talking about? There they are right there. We had over 716,000 graphics in this case. So it gives you a breakdown of all the different files, their status, and where they are. Here's our evidence list. Here's all the stuff. This was a Dell laptop that I did. And then we're going to break down in here. This guy was doing file credit card information. So here's Magstrip software, all the software there. Here's emails of him going back and forth selling credit card numbers. So you click on this and it brings up the email itself. Notable images. Here's all the images themselves. You click on a link, it brings them up, and everything you need. Here's a JPEG. This is what it looks like on a credit card creation software. Web history. Here's him going and looking at web files on credit card sales. And here's TeamViewer, which is a remote program. Some of you guys are probably familiar with that. So everything you need is right here. Case information, everything's out the door. You hand that to the prosecutor, and away you go. So this is all said and done. I'm done with this case. I close it off here, and it goes back here. When I'm done with this case, okay, after prosecution is said and done and everything's out the door, what I can do is I can go into case, archive and detach. I archive it, I detach it, it's gone. It's on my hard drive. I take it and I put it into Glacier storage because I don't need it anymore once the case is adjudicated. How long do cases take? Your standard on a felony is normally 7 years, but there's also homicides, rapes, robberies, stuff like that, child pornography cases where there is no statute of limitations. So you may have to hang on to these things for a long time. My unit has over 100 terabytes in storage right now that can take, well, we priced it to store it at Amazon Web Services was $65,000 a year. I'm sure that's gone up. So remember, these cases are very important sometimes, and you have to keep them around. So that's just the way it goes. FTK is a very powerful tool. It's very flexible. It's very expensive, but it gets the job done fast and lets you focus your investigation down to the minute details that you need. So when you use it to your advantage, use all those tabs, use all those tools and filters to get to the point of what am I looking for and make it happen. Thanks for your paying attention, guys, and as always, if you have any questions,
Welcome to another episode of Cyber Secrets. In this episode, we will discuss on how to do computer forensics with a limited budget. First, write block using a registry hack. Second, use FTK Imager to make a forensically sound copy of the drive. And third, using Autopsy to do the analysis. When doing any sort of computer forensics, it's always important to use a write blocker. Imagine we just received a USB thumb drive into evidence. The suspect is accused of hacking and violating the corporate communications policy by using unauthorized software, such as Tor. Before we plug in the thumb drive, we first want to add a new key into the Windows registry. This key will tell Windows not to write to USB storage devices that are then plugged in. You do this by going into regedit, and then adding a new key under HKey local machine /system/current control set /control. And the new key is going to be called storage device policies. Now that the storage device policies key has been created, we need to create a DWORD value. The name of this new DWORD value will be write protect. Write protect can contain two values, 0 equals off and 1 equals on. To make a quick method for turning the write block on and off, we will export the key and save them to the desktop. Now, let's test the new toggle switch. Watch the registry value in the background as we run write protect on. Once this is done, Windows has effectively turned off writing to USB storage devices, or now is blocking the writes to them, effectively acting as a write blocker. Now you can insert your USB thumb drive into the computer. Now that we have the USB on the system and it's write blocked, open up FTK Imager to make a bitstream copy. First thing that we want to do though is verify that we have the right drive. So we're going to choose physical drive, hit next, and then make sure that we have the right one. See, there's 3 drives here. If you have the wrong drive, You can make a mistake, such as making a bitstream copy of your hard drive onto your hard drive. At that point, you're going to be DOSing your own workstation. So at this point, we've just verified that it is the right drive. Now we can right-click on it and then export disk image. Once you export it, go ahead and add. You want to make a raw DD copy. That's a universal generic copy. Here's where you need to document. You document everything. So we're just going to have a generic case number, evidence item number, a unique description, and then after that, put the examiner name. But you want to get in the habit, whenever doing computer forensics, document everything. Go to next, and we're going to choose the desktop so we know exactly where it's at. You want to be as anal retentive as possible when you're doing this and put everything into its own subfolder, but because we're just doing it as a demo, we're going to put it onto the desktop to make sure we can find it later. Just call it Forensics Recovery. And on the image size, I like to choose 0 because this makes it to where it's no longer a split image. When it finish, and then at this point, sometimes I do like to create a directory listing so I can look later at all the files that were copied. But at this point, just go in at next and then start the imaging. The imaging takes a long time, so we're going to fast forward through this. Even though it's a 2 gig thumb drive, it still took several minutes. Now it's verifying. So what you want to do in forensics is document everything and verify everything. Once the verification is complete, it'll show us the MD5 hash. The computed hash and the reported hash, they're the same. The SHA hash, computed hash, and reported hash, they're also the same. This is good. This is what we want to see. So let's go and close out of here. And then on the desktop, it's made a document file with a forensics recovery dd.txt. We'll open it up. This has all the information that you just added into it. It also has the computed hashes and the verification hashes and when it was acquired. This is important. Again, document everything when dealing with forensics. Let's go and close that FTK imager. Now we're going to open up Autopsy. Autopsy is a great free resource. It's one of the sayings, you get what you pay for. This is free. You actually get a lot, even though it is free. So go ahead and start a new case. Once we start a new case, we're going to point it to that DD image that we just created with FTK. Go ahead and start a case file. Again, document everything. Go to next. Again, case number, examiner. And if you look at the top left-hand side, it just created a folder called 001. This is the folder where all the data is going to be dumped into. Now, we want to make sure it's an image file. We just created an image file with FTK Imager. So keep it as image file. Now we're going to want to point to that image file. Get FTK Imager. Just created. Let's go ahead and open. And then the time zone that you're currently in. Once you have the time zone, everything else is set. Go ahead and next. And in this window, there's a lot of extra things it'll look for. The one huge benefit is it actually also looks for Thunderbird. That's an email client that a lot of the forensics tools will not look for. So again, at this specific area, go through each one, even has some pre-allocated text strings that you can even look for, which makes things really nice. It even has the ability to look for hashes, like your National Software Reference Library hash. In this specific area, we'll look for things like IP addresses, phone numbers, so it does some pretty good grep expression searches as well. And what I do like about Autopsy is it does seem to have a little bit less false positives than some of the other tools that I've played with, even the commercial tools. What this is doing, though, in the data carving scope is indexing. So if you've heard the term indexing from any of the other tools, it's basically what it's doing right now. We're also going to want to do the unallocated space in case anything was deleted. So as soon as you start this, this is going to take a long time. If you thought imaging took a while, this takes forever. For example, the indexing on this 2 gig drive took 20 minutes. Now we're going to look for the folder, that 001 folder on the desktop. If you notice how big it is, you can go into the size. It's almost a little bit over a gig for that 2 gig image. So you do need a lot of space for every investigation that you're going to be doing. So some of the features that it has. You can preview the drive just by going up to the data sources, but it also has pre-allocated other items, such as if you see the number for the URLs, the email addresses, the IP addresses, and so forth. But one thing that I do really like about Autopsy, does it a little bit differently than some of the others, is the EXIF, or the metadata. So what EXIF is, that's extra information that they add specifically for graphics. You can even have location services in here. So take a pick on some of these items. For example, this one right here was a Nikon, took it. This one was a Canon camera that took that picture. Here's one from an ARRIS or an HTC ARRIS, and that specific one does have location services already inside of it, so your longitude, latitude. So this makes it really easy to verify when and where the picture was actually taken. So now we're going to preview the disk. So at the beginning of this whole scenario, we were looking for any potential evidence of Tor traffic. Immediately, you already see Tor browsers already there. Anything that has an X on the image to the left-hand side, that means it's a deleted file. So we've already found some instances of Tor. We found a lot of deleted content, some related to hacking, credit cards, fake IDs, things in that area. So even just undeleting. So this specific area, when you're previewing, when you have the file names, you can recover any of that content. If it has an X on it, that means it was deleted. The data still may be there, and it still may be what's called undeletable. This is still going to be an unallocated space. However, there's a pointer still going directly to that area. You can have it, though, when you try to recover some items that may not work. For example, here, this is an AVI. Autopsy does have an AVI viewer built in. All the data is there. It's pointing to the right space, but it doesn't have the right codec. This is one of the times where you may actually have to use an external or third-party viewer. So go and export this file out. Once we export it out, we're going to use a program that I like called VLC Player. VLC Player allows you to play video codec that some other players won't let you play. What's also nice about it is that VLC is also a little bit more lenient when it comes to damaged files. So if this file was corrupted in any way, you'll have more of a chance of being able to play it with VLC Player than you would with some of even the commercial tools out there. So we can see it opened up just fine, even though Autopsy was not able to, and some of the other forensics tools are not able to automatically as well. So go ahead and close out of here. Go back into Autopsy. Some of the other things, did want to show you the unallocated space. You could search that if you had keywords that you wanted to look at. But another thing that's nice about it is it pre-allocates file types, such as images, videos, audio, or archives like zip files. So if we just went into that video section, it has that video that we just opened, along with some flash players. It even has a really good keyword search. The keyword search is very fast, but only because it's already pre-indexed. This is how FTK used to work. It would index first, then allow you to do the searching. Some of the other tools do not work that way and have it to where you can preview quickly or fast, but then you have to search, and it takes a really long time to search. So we just typed in Tor, and as you can see, there's a lot of hits. And this is related to what we were looking for at the very beginning of this demo. Some other targeted items, like IP addresses. If you look at those IP addresses, those look very real, or they look like they're probably not false positives. Some of the other IP address searching utilities that I've seen in the past would look for 3-digit, 2-digit numbers, but then they would go above and beyond the 255 number range. Same thing with IP addresses, URLs, email addresses. But if you look closely, especially with the email addresses, most of them are legitimate email addresses. But when you look at the URLs, it even has .onion addresses. A .onion address is only found on the Tor browser network, or the Tor network, through onion routing. So this goes, again, back to what we're looking for at the beginning, any evidence of Tor traffic. That's one way for doing forensics within a budget.
PTK Forensics is a computer forensics framework for the command line tools in the Sleuth Kit, plus many other software modules. This enhances Sleuth Kit usability and greatly facilitates system investigation. PTK Forensics is an alternative advanced interface for the Sleuth Kit suite. The software was originally developed as a free interface, improving the features already present in Autopsy Forensic Browser, the former Sleuth Kit interface. In addition to providing the functions already present in Autopsy Forensic Browser, it currently implements numerous new essential forensic features. PTK Forensics is more than just a new, highly professional graphic interface based on AJAX and other advanced technologies. It offers numerous features such as analysis, search, and management of complex digital investigation cases. The core component of the software is an efficient indexing engine performing different preliminary analysis operations during the important phase of each piece of evidence. PTK allows simultaneous management of different cases and multi-user profiling. Investigators can work on the same case at the same time. All reports and bookmarks generated by an investigator are saved in a reserved section of the database. PTK Forensics is a complex application based on the very innovative technology and builds an appealing, highly dynamic, and very easy-to-use interface. Its developers use the PHP language and a back-end MySQL database implementing the LAMP structure. PTK Forensics has an indexing engine that executes preliminary indexing operations on the evidence entered and stores the results thus obtained in the database. The investigator can thereby efficiently query the data on which he or she is working. The results of the preliminary operations are memorized in a database for enhanced data searching. The remaining operations, such as file or directory exportation, can be executed by the investigator directly from the disk image. The disk timeline helps investigators focus their attention on all changes made during a given time interval. It displays the chronological succession of all activities that took place on the file, both allocated and unallocated. These activities are tracked through metadata analysis known as MACB time. The keyword search section offers two primary features. Indexed search consists of a thorough search among keywords obtained from indexing operations. Live search runs a direct search on the evidence. The keyword search section supports the use of regular expressions and offers the possibility to save the most frequently used regexp on a file. The results are bookmarked for subsequent analysis. The gallery is a feature that enables the investigator to visualize and manage graphic evidence. In the gallery, the thumbnails of the files recognized as images are visualized, signature file. All images obtained during analysis can be added to bookmarks or exported or analyzed through their raw content. All graphic contents are extracted ICAT. The file analysis section makes it possible to browse the entire disk tree and explore the content of each directory. It's possible to visualize files in the following formats: ASCII, ASCII string, hex dump, and image preview for graphic files only. Investigators have full access to the data contained in every file present on the disk, both allocated and unallocated. All operations are fast and intuitive thanks to the tree visualization and to a tab system. All results obtained during file analysis are bookmarked for subsequent analysis. The keyword search is divided into two sections: indexed search, live search. The first is based on thorough keyword indexing. The latter is a powerful single-file search tool. PTK Forensics Control Panel allows the investigator to generate a disk timeline. Time intervals may also be specified in generating the timeline. Moreover, it is possible to analyze the content of each individual file directly from the timeline. The entire analysis section is supported by a complex bookmark system created during system analysis. The investigator can manage his or her own bookmarks and share them with the other investigators. The bookmark section enables investigators to create bookmarks for evidence obtained during analysis. Specifically, bookmarks or links may be created for single files, parts of files, search results, timeline events. The bookmarks can be generated by all PTK sections. One or more tags that simplify and order the results can be associated with each bookmark. Each investigator can create his or her own bookmarks list for every assigned case. Each investigator can view only his or her own bookmarks. The PTK administrator can visualize the full list of bookmarks created by all investigators. Memory dump analysis is performed via the volatility framework. At the moment, version 1.3 is the latest supported by the framework, along with the dump memories coming from Windows XP Service Pack 2 and Service Pack 3 systems. It's possible to perform a string search both in ASCII and Unicode format. Just like all other evidence, the results can be added to the PTK bookmarks. With PTK, it is also possible to perform a string search on RAM dump memory. A keyword search may be launched in the following formats: ASCII or Unicode. In this section, it is also possible to perform regular expression searches. All results can be included in the investigator's personal bookmarks. Live search on the content of the RAM through search strings plus grep. PTK forensics ensures case management at various levels through previously decided policies. Only the master investigator has access to all cases. Investigators have access only to the cases specifically assigned to them. Moreover, at any time, the master investigator can decide to use the lock function for a case, thus prohibiting case access to any other investigator. Each investigator has a separate section in the database where he or she stores and manages personal bookmarks. There is no limit to the number of investigators that can be created. PTK Forensics full version hardware appliance represents a highly professional and multi-user system for complex digital investigations. The system, fully configured and secured, has the PTK Forensics full version software already installed. PTK Forensics full version hardware appliance is the ideal tool for managing the full range of computer forensic capabilities. The appliance, created by the developers of PTK, has two 500 gigabyte hard disks connected by serial ATA hot plugs. Evidence management is highly flexible without having to wait for long data transfers via network. PTK Forensics supports the following evidence formats on single or multiple files: DD, raw image, and case format, EWF, and AFF lib format. DF Labs is proud to announce the availability of a new PTK Forensics section dedicated to data carving. This new feature, available for the appliance version, is automatically integrated into the numerous existing PTK Forensics features. Through this section, every investigator will be able to run the data carving process on any imported image and analyze the results in the file analysis section. In order to implement data carving, PTK Forensics uses the technique known as zero storage. This mode allows investigators to run the data carving process without having to allocate the physical space on the disk. Instead, for every recognized file, a reference is saved on the disk, start sector and offset. Thus, investigators do not have to worry if they have free space on the hard disk. They can choose to export at the end of the process only those files which are of major interest. In order to render the process faster, there are headers and footers for the most common file types, such as JPG, GIF, DOC, PDF, etc., divided into categories to facilitate selection by the user. PTK Forensics full version is able to manage hash libraries with accuracy, thus rendering investigation processes faster and easier. PTK Forensics full version doesn't just create hash sets and mark them as good or bad, but also offers the possibility for the user to create new customized sets and to choose, based on the case, the appropriate set for lookup. This new feature noticeably extends the range of fields where PTK Forensics can be applied.
So here's your assignments this week. Week 4, Lab 1. Answer 1 question, respond to 3, and a 1-page describing training provided by Access Data and Guidance. Yeah, I want you to go to their websites and look at it, okay? Thank you.